Maybe you're like an undercover cop. You're like, hello, fellow kids, like trying to like sell them drugs.
Hey, this is like 21 Jump Street. Just trying to blend in. Welcome to the Creative Slash Podcast, where we explore what happens when creativity collides with everything else. My name is Brad Woodard, and I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Dustin Lee. Whether you're an artist looking to grow your following or you're just curious about where creativity can take you, this is your weekly dose of real talk about making it as a creative human. In today's episode, we explore how our careers have evolved throughout our lives. Both Dustin and I have thought about this a lot as we've been thinking about those early goals and priorities that drove us and, within our professional career and how those have somewhat changed over the years. And it's not a bad thing. We just noticed it and wanted to discuss it. So let's jump right into it and enjoy. Well, Dustin, how are you, man?
I'm good. Every time we do these, I'm realize that I look like I'm like someone working at like Shawshank Prison, and you look like someone who's just having a good time.
I have to do this because it's how I convince myself that I'm having a good time in life and that I'm younger than I really am.
Why does it look like I look like I'm on a forensic files interview room at the police station, and like you look like you're in like a warm. Anyways, we'll work on that. No one can see it.
The hat's my favorite. No, you look like you're going undercover.
Yeah,
you look like you're somebody that's because you don't have any branding on anything, and it's like,
yeah,
I'm just gonna go. Yeah, every movie where they're trying to go, they don't want people to recognize them. They'll wear like a black plain hat.
Yeah, it's like I'm an alien where someone described what dad should wear, but I didn't really know what it actually looked like, and I just took my best guesses.
Like, this is it from all the movies I've consumed.
Or just like, what can you wear that like no one will remember you were there?
Sort of blend into the background.
Dude, everyone's going to remember you were there. Like,
yeah, there's no way around it.
if there's chaos and like some sort of terrorist attack happens or something, that'd be like, I don't remember much other than the explosion, but I do remember there was a dude in a pink Sublime shirt and like a yellow beanie. I don't know what he was doing there.
Why he was wearing what he was wearing. I don't get it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're like an undercover cop, you're like, hello, fellow kids, like trying to like sell them drugs.
Hey, this is like 21 Jump Street. Just trying to blend in.
Actually, we do kind of look like we could be like a cop team. Like we're both have different views of how undercover police work is done.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more chill, trying to fit in. Oh my gosh.
So how's the rest of your life going?
It's going pretty well. We got all these chickens that are now out of my office, at least. We got a dozen. They told us that only a handful of them would survive. This is the first time I ever getting chicks. And we were told by everybody, farmers, the people at like the feed stores and all that stuff, and father-in-law, like, just gotta get extra because there's going to be, they're not all going to survive. And so we really only have room for like 8 chickens. And so everybody was like, just get like 12 because you're going to lose a few. Well, all of them are very, very healthy and thriving. So now we're at this point where I'm like, oh, crap. We have to fit 12 chickens. I need to make that coop a little bit bigger. So.
I know that Crystal is a good cook. She's good at frying, dude. She's good at, she thinks she did fried fish or something when we were there. Have her fry a couple of those little guys.
Oh my goodness. She eats meat now, but we were like vegan for a long time, and she's gone off and on her whole entire life being vegetarian or vegan, and she just something about meat. So every animal we get and I'm like such an animal person. It's the opposite of like my father-in-law, who's like, they don't have to be, if there's something that die, he's just very casual. Like, farmers talk about them differently, or people who are raising them to eat them talk about them very differently. We bought our bunnies from like a breeder who raises them to eat. And then she's like, I guess you can take a couple and take care of them. I was like, well, how do you take care of them? She's like, I don't know. You just leave them out until they get fat. And then it's like, okay, like, what if we want to bring them in the house? No clue what we're talking about.
She's like trying to sell them to you, and she's like, they're delicious. And like, she doesn't realize like you don't want to do that.
No. I'm like, but how do you dress them? Like, what kind of clothes do you get them? And
Yeah, you're like, you like how much of like birthdays do they understand? Like,
Yeah. How many friends should I invite for their birthdays? I mean, I don't know this kind of stuff. It's my first time.
it reminds me of that. This has got to be a. Everyone knows this joke, right? How do you? Uh, how can you spot a vegan?
Oh, what is it?
It's like, don't worry, they'll tell you.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I've heard that one. And I just told you, I'm not vegan anymore.
It's so funny because it is true, but like, I mean, there's a lot of things like that, right? But I think if you're not vegan, I mean, obviously people tell you because they are just letting you know so they don't end up having their worst nightmare happen and find out that they were eating a living animal that they didn't know about. But
Yeah.
because they have to do that, it comes across like they're always telling you.
That's a good way to put it. Some people I'm sure are saying it because they want other people to do the same thing and think that everybody, it depends. They have some strong opinions about it, about how other people live their lives as well, and think that they shouldn't. So there's that extreme. But most people, like I've found for myself, I was doing it for health reasons and just trying it out. I've never tried those, any sort of diet before that. And so I went all in on vegan. It was about 3 years. But yeah, you do end up talking about it a lot. Mine is more, I just don't want people to assume. And so when we go over, we go and eat, it's always like, I feel like I just need to say it just so that it doesn't have an awkward situation.
Well, it is much better because like, remember we met and our families met and like we had pizza or something and you were like, well, we're vegan, so, you said it in some way where like, maybe you're like, we can get whatever, we can do whatever, we can just take them. Like you made it real simple, but like, that's way better than making it super awkward. And then like you show up and, we just got like 3 pizzas.
Oh, we don't eat
like,
that.
Oh, we can't eat that. And then you're eating like, I don't know, like some sort of granola bars and you just kind of feel resentful a little bit, as you're like chowing down on pizza and they're like sitting watching you. So it is,
We'll just drink some water and granola bars.
It's a lose-lose situation as a vegan. You tell people and it comes across so much
pretentious.
Like you want me to be pretentious. You want me to be impressed. You don't tell people, then you come across like this picky eater, little baby. You can't win. I actually feel for vegan people.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't empathize at all with them before, and then now I totally do. Same thing with like not drinking. Like I've never drank in my life and never found a reason to start personally. Especially as I got older, it just didn't make any sense as a decision. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't know why I would ever start. But that's something that I'd mention to people if we're going out to drink. People going out to drinks, it's a common thing for work or for just meeting up with folks and they offer you drinks. So I typically try to like let people know beforehand so it's not an awkward thing. Same thing. But usually what I get on that end is, oh yeah, I mean, I don't really drink very often anyways. Like this is rare for me to drink. They always try to excuse their behavior. And I'm like, no, I'm not asking for that either. I'm not judging you. I just want you to know that I'm not going to drink. And I don't want it to be awkward when you offer me a drink and I tell you, I could just tell you right now, I'm not going to drink.
I had that happen like the other day.
No
I did
judgment.
that thing at PSU and like, I was hanging out with the teacher where the traffic died down before I drove home. And so we were going to go somewhere. And she was like, well, we can go to this like bar right here. Like, how does that sound? I was like, yeah, that's great. And then you're like, you feel like you have to say like, I don't drink. So we don't get there. And then all of a sudden you're like, no, I'm good. But I'm like, I don't drink. Just so you know, but like she's like, oh, we can go somewhere. I'm like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Like you can drink. Like I was like, I'll take some of my medication. Like, it's fine. Like, like that'll be my drink, Yeah. You're like trying to make it so people don't feel like, oh, well, I guess we can't hang out,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm already like inebriated with my own like smooth brain.
Oh, I just like the idea of your medicine being the drink. You're just like, mine is like, no, I got this whole bottle of Pepto-Bismol. I'm going to have this meal. I know I'm going to need it anyways. I'll keep that as my drink.
I'm like, I don't drink, but don't worry. I do drugs.
Yeah. I got other vices. Don't worry. I'll tell you about them if you want, but this is just not my thing.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well,
speaking of drugs,
let's get into our drug, which is podcasting. It's our current drug of choice.
The ultimate drug.
The ultimate drug. So many people have fallen into the trap of podcasting. But let's go ahead and get this rolling because we got lots of interesting things to talk about. Welcome to the Creative Slash Podcast, where we explore what happens when creativity collides with everything else. I'm Brad Woodard, joined by my friend Dustin Lee. Each episode, we're diving into how creative minds navigate everything from business and marketing to spelunking and needlepoint. Whether you're an artist looking to grow your following or just curious about where creativity can take you, this is your weekly dose of real talk about making it as a creative. Today, we want to explore how our careers evolve throughout our lives. This one's very interesting to me. I've been thinking about this a lot. The professional goals and priorities that drive us early on often change as we mature and sometimes take us in directions that we couldn't have anticipated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right?
so I'm glad we're talking about this. Hopefully it's useful to people. I had seen a book called Wanting. I don't remember the author's name, but it talked about something called mnemonic desire, if I'm saying it right, which is this idea that it's this theory or philosophy that a lot of the things that we think, a lot of the reasons that we're unhappy in life is that we think we want things because other people do. And thus we keep pursuing things that we don't actually deeply want. They call it, I think like something like thick goals or thick desires and thin desires. And so we chase after things that we think we want. For instance, maybe we think we really want to have a retirement. Well, when I'm retired, it's all going to be great. And then you get there and you realize the whole time that was a mnemonic desire. You actually didn't even want to be retired and you're disappointed. These kind of things happen to us all throughout life with things. You know what I mean? You get that job you thought you wanted. You get that car you thought you wanted. And you realize, I don't.
Because everybody else, it's like the thing to do, right? It's like, yeah, we all retire at 65. Like that's the thing to do, or that's the goal, is that we retire at 65. But do I want to retire? That's a good one too. I think about that all the time as a creative, retiring, because I don't know if I want to stop what I do, but I don't want to be as dependent on on it, I guess, financially.
Right. And I think anyways, yeah, like I think there's a lot of things where like when we're young, we want them. And as we get older, we definitely have changes in what we want or what matters. And sometimes we taste the thing. We finally get that sweet thing we were trying to get, and you get it and realize that like, that's not going to hold you over for the rest of your life. That actually was probably not that important.
Yeah. That's a go. I think about that all the time. Like, honestly, as I mature in, I guess, in life, just as I get older, but also in like my career, there's a lot of questions that I have for myself that I never thought I'd be asking myself. Like, I thought I would be. Oh yeah, go ahead. You
okay, let me ask you this. Like, maybe this might be a good place to start on this. Is when you were young, and I remember it like it was yesterday. Back when you had all dark brown hair. It was.
We had all our hair, and it was dark brown.
Yeah, when I was just a follower of you, just liking your Dribble posts back when Dribble was, Dribble. And anyway, when you were that age, like when you were like 19, 20, like what did you want? What were the big things you wanted? And when you got them, how did you feel?
It's interesting you say 1920 because I think that's standard. For me, I was in the Philippines, 19 to 21. So I had a little bit of a later start in general, which actually created urgency in my mind. Like, I'm behind, right? I'm behind on life. Living in the Philippines, I was serving a mission for my church at the time. I remember feeling like as I was spending time there being selfless, right? The idea was that I was it wasn't about me. And so I had 2 years when you're like most selfish. I feel like that's like right out of high school is your most selfish era in your life. Just because you have to be to a degree, you have to figure out what you're doing, where you're going, and you have this time, you have this freedom. So for me, I remember at that point giving that up, that thinking about myself, but in doing so, like as I started to go throughout those 2 years, I started getting to the tail end of that mission experience. I was feeling really motivated to go start my own life, and to start like thinking about what I'm going to be doing. And I didn't know what it would be exactly. Like people have already heard me talk about my creative career in the sense that like I wanted to be a fine artist. And then, I got into college and I felt like I just wasn't as good as everyone else. There's so much talent that I wasn't expecting. And then I eventually ended up going down the graphic design route, and that's what I graduated with a BFA degree in. But yeah, I think my initially, I just wanted to create. I just wanted to start my life. I wanted to start a career. I wanted to start making stuff. Early on, I felt like, and then like the earliest memory I can think of, like out of college, like I really just wanted to go up the ladder, right? I wanted all the titles. That's what I thought. I didn't really think about running my own business right away.
You wanted to be like
an art director,
like art director or officially illustrator or what?
Yeah. Like being like the chief creative officer eventually, you know, I wanted to go through all the steps. I'd like to be like the junior designer, then the designer, then a senior designer, and all the things, all the rungs on the ladder. I wanted to go up them all because I thought that was it. But that didn't last super long, but that was what I wanted initially.
I remember that too. Did you ever want, I don't even know if these are still a thing anymore. So at a touch I am with these things. Like, did you ever remember they used to give those pencils away? There's an award where you get a big old pencil.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What is that called?
What is that award?
I don't know,
big
but it looks badass. And I remember thinking to myself, I need to get one of those. If I just had, this is a perfect example probably of like mimetic desire. Like I want to get one of those. If I have one of those or maybe 3 of those and they're back on my shelf behind me, I've really made it, which is so silly.
No, but you see them. That's the thing. That's a good example of, so I'm looking here and it's the oh no, that's not the same one. DNAD? Is that the one? No, that's London. Maybe that's not it. Anyways, I can't remember exactly what it is, but I know what you're talking about. That's exactly what they look like. That's right. I thought they were metal and looked really like designy.
No, they're yellow. Like for everyone listening, I have a gigantic, like oversized like number 2 pencil in my hand, but they're kind of crunched. They're kind of squished, and they're like kind of wide,
like paperweights,
kind of like maybe the size of twice as big as a coffee mug. It seemed like.
Yeah.
And
you wanted one.
It's something you'd want. So you wanted that pencil thing. By the way, if the people that make those pencils are listening, send me a pencil thing. Or what do I need to do
exactly.
for you?
We'll shout you out. Just give us pencils. We can put them in our back. Actually, I do have a pencil, and it looks similar to the one I have right here. So for all of you listening, this pencil that looks more like it. Doesn't
exactly like it.
Yeah. There you go. See, this is what we're looking for. I could send you one of these, Dustin. I'm pretty sure this is like a Hobby Lobby special. That's what that is. It's like a little ceramic one.
I like mine better.
Looks a little more adult, I guess.
Easier to scratch my back with it. But that's one. Okay, so these are one thing, right? So you wanted that. Yeah. Like you wanted the accolades, the trophies. What about like
Young Guns? I always wanted to be a Young Gun. It's the award you get. You have to apply for. You have to submit your portfolio. You have to pay every year to submit.
That's okay. So I remember seeing that about these things. You had to pay for them, which I find so hilarious. I feel like any legit award you don't have to pay for consideration.
Yes, and then then it comes out. So I did that for several years before I was 30, because that's what you had to. The Young Gun was like you're recognized for your creative brilliance before you were 30.
Right.
And I know a lot of artists who are there. I'm pretty sure Jessica Hish is on that list, you know, and a bunch of others. But I remember that being like this goal that I had, and I really, really wanted to apply it. I paid every flipping year, and I was like, and then say again?
Sorry, I keep interrupting you. That's just who I am.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. We know each other well, if it's fine. No, I never got it. I don't really have many awards at all. And you know, and I honestly, like, a lot of people will try to get their work into things, which I think is great. Like, you know, the logo, what's the one with the logo one, the book, what's it called?
Oh, friend Bill
Gardner.
Yeah. I actually really love it. Logo Lounge.
Yeah. Logo Lounge. Yeah. And I think those are fantastic.
Yeah. I love Logo Lounge.
I love that.
Bill,
and like, so things like that.
Great thing. Yeah.
And like, you know, getting your work in these magazines and things like that, like communications magazines and stuff. Like, I feel like those are really great things to go for and whatnot. I just really early on, like after a few years of applying for Young Guns and not getting in, I started like, maybe it's just because I wasn't getting in. I was like, you know, screw this. Like, who are they to tell me that I'm good or not? And it was more a reflection of me, less a reflection of them. It was more me putting so much of like, oh, I must not be that successful. I must not be as good because I'm not getting these awards. Or I'm not getting featured in like these magazines that you pay to get featured in. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
so I quickly just started getting over that and saying like, I'm not going to do this for anybody else because I'm not happy. And then I just stopped applying to anything. And that's kind of how I've gone. I've been okay with it. I'm okay with it now. Early on, it was hard. I wanted that.
I honestly think those, I'm a really big proponent of the fact that like there's so much luck and luck, take luck as you want it, very specifically, as in the toss of a die, or like very vaguely in the sense of who we're born to, what our early things are. It's all, there's so much luck involved, and I feel like it's so damaging to people that don't get
Mm-hmm.
certain things, because it's so unique to people that as I've gotten older, have really come to not be a fan of it. It makes people, in my opinion, like so many people miserable that don't have it, and oftentimes people that do have something attribute what they have purely to themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of this certainly. Like I try to remember not to, but I'm definitely guilty of this myself. Um, what about money? I don't think I've ever talked to you about this in terms of money. Like, was money something? Did you dream of money when you were thinking about doing it? Having a house that looked like it was designed by the Eames.
Yeah. I'd be lying if I did. Like, yeah, Ray and Charles Eames. That, dude, that is inspiration. And, they actually became, speaking of the Eameses, Eames, that sounds weird to say, the Eames duo.
Mhm.
I really admired that they worked together uh, as a couple. And so that actually became more of the inspiration for Brave the Woods, which a lot of people may not know, like Crystal was the other half of that. She's not the artist per se, but she has run the business and marketing and all the things. So she's very much a vital piece of the Brave the Woods puzzle. And so, um,
And she definitely, like, I think you would like, I mean, I know you you would agree or else you'd be killed, but
go
it's
ahead.
true though. Like she's very, very talented. It's not like she's the other half and she just did business stuff because business stuff needs to be done. She's legitimately very, very talented at the business stuff
Yes,
and literally is half of that. Like that that company
that's a
has
good, yeah,
succeeded
that's a good, good
because
call out.
of her doing that.
Yeah. Like I tell people all the time, it's like I wouldn't be able to be where I'm at without like her contribution to Brave the Woods because there's just so many things that she's I mean she's so smart. I mean she also does a lot. She does all the writing, she does all the editing, she does all the marketing, she does the business. Like she communicates with clients so often, and so all of these things that you don't see, and she doesn't like to be seen. So just to be clear, I'm not hiding her. She really does not like to be seen. She loves working on these things, outside of the spotlight. Um, but yeah, she's really really good at this. So I think okay, going back to your question, you were saying like
Right.
financially was
Mhm.
what was my motivation there? Yes, there was a financial motivation to a degree, but it wasn't. It was never the reason why I went into the career I did. If that's helpful. Like I didn't I didn't ever think I was going to be rich, but there were definitely aspirations of like, oh, I'd love to design my own home like Ray and Charles did, like they have such a unique. I love like my space and I like having that. So I do that. I'm not at their level. I'm not I definitely don't have that kind of money and that's okay. But that wasn't ever like the driving factor. It was definitely like a one that was like a aspirational. I'd love to be able to have freedoms. It's not the money. It was more just to have freedom to go where I wanted to live, to do with what I wanted to on the land that I had or whatever. That was more my focus, or travel when I wanted to travel. That still is. I just like that for the freedom it gives you. What about you? What about you, Go? These all apply to you too. So I'm curious.
Yeah, I wanted I mean I got into design late too. I was in my most selfish years, like in my 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, I was really into drinking and partying. So
We
So
had
I didn't
different
have
lives.
time with my busy drinking schedule. I didn't have time for things like careers or anything other than like basic college stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but I did eventually like pull out of that, and I wanted, yeah, I think I wanted to be viewed in a certain way. I wanted those pencil awards. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be thought of, I think, as some sort of intellectual design person. I like the whole mystique of people like um the classic designer, right? I wanted, I think, to
Yeah.
be that person. Like you would see that and think you wanted to be that. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
And I did, and I also came from a music and a financial background and business background. So I did want to make money too. I don't think I ever thought I never thought I'm just going to do design and be a freelancer. I always thought business was always going into this. My first business was like an eBay business or a guitar lesson business. I was always trying to do something. Um,
Yeah.
but what I think would be interesting to hear, especially for people listening that are maybe in that 20-year range, or even maybe perhaps like 30, is what was it like to get some of these things that you did get? So for myself, I did financially better than I thought that I would ever do. I'm not, you know, Bill Gates or something like that. I'm not like filthy rich from doing this, but I did do financially better than I um, thought I would do. And I wouldn't say that's
Did
from a
that bring you
medic
all the joy and
desire.
happiness? I was
What?
gonna say, did that bring you? I was gonna jump in and say, did that bring you? Like, what did that satisfy you? Like, was that everything you thought it would be? Because you've overachieved on that goal. Is that like, how does that make you feel now? I mean, like reflecting back, like, is this? Yeah, I'm curious.
I feel like I have to be clear too, like, because you said you overachieved on that, and I said that like I did not become filthy rich. All I mean is like I just
No,
like
more than you thought.
more than I thought. Like
Yeah,
I'm not living in poverty. I'm not wondering where my next check is going to come from. So this is very modest, just
yeah,
financially in design, like doing better than I thought. And it was not as fulfilling as you would think. I suppose like it did not solve problems that I thought it would solve. Like you don't worry about your rent every month. Um, you don't worry about, I remember being in my 20s and worrying if, like, I remember distinctly at one point having to decide if we were going to go get Thai food on our weekend right after we got married, because if we did, we would have to put like part of our electric bill onto the credit card.
I've been
You
there,
could,
man.
I
Yeah,
don't have to worry about that stuff.
yeah.
Everything's taken care of. I've been able to watch my kids grow up and stay and work from home. My wife's been able to work or just stay home. I'm the only one that
Mm-hmm.
works, and it just does not solve everything. It does not make you happier. It solves a spectrum of
Certain.
problems, uh,
Yeah.
which I think, I don't even know how else to say it, but I'd be curious. You did have like quite a bit of financial success. I mean, I don't know exactly, but I do know some numbers about things when you started to kind of take off in your career,
Yeah.
specifically doing like you were invited to Skillshare early to do things like that. And that started to bring
Yeah.
in like quite a windfall of money. And then other things came in.
Uh-huh.
And what was your experience with that? Like, did it solve a bunch of problems for you? Did it feel as good as you thought it would feel?
It did. I'm not gonna lie and say it didn't. Like, there are other things that I will talk about right after this that I feel like, right, or I got them and I didn't feel like it solved everything. But at that time I really needed money. Like, the reason why I was jumping between jobs, like Crystal and I were really poor in college, like most people are. And then, and then we got my first job, it was in Southern California, and we had to live near my work, which was in Newport Beach, which is super expensive. And so we got this job. It was with a startup company, Column 5, and they were starting up, could pay a ton, but they were the only one offering me work. So I needed to get in somewhere. So I accepted it, and then even when they were like kind enough to like go up and give me a raise within my first year. I had to ask for one because we had our first kid, and I was like, I just can't live off of this. And then they did give me a raise, but it was still really tight just by nature of being in California and having a kid. Most of the other folks there didn't. We were all really young. And so I do remember I got a job offer to go to with Arnold in Boston, which isn't cheaper per se.
No, I think it's actually more. Maybe like Boston's expensive.
Yeah, Boston's very expensive, but they like doubled my pay. And so as much as I loved column 5, I needed that money. I needed that security because I was, we were starting to buy groceries on credit cards, and I was like, this is not going to be viable for very long. And so when I took that job in Boston, we were doing better, and we were feeling a lot more comfortable and being able to pay off some debts. And but yeah, you were talking about Skillshare. Then Skillshare came along and invited me when all the platforms were kind of starting out, like Udemy and platforms like that were all reaching out, and I was saying no to all of them because I never taught online. And anyway, I said yes to Skillshare.
Well, you don't understand the financial implications. Like when I got into,
you don't.
I started with Creative Market, and I was just doing it kind of as like a Hail Mary, hoping something would work. And I was thinking a couple $100 a month would be fantastic. And you don't realize how much money was in that. I don't know that it's still in those things, but anyway, sorry. Continue.
Well, that goes to what you were saying though earlier, like, and this is why I tell people all the time, like, figure out your own path, because yes, like teaching online might be great. I caught it at the right time. So I realize, like, yes, I feel like I had good courses, but I look back at them now and they're not amazing. Within Skillshare, like the first one, I mean, they weren't shot well. I think the content's there. I was kind of a dry teacher. It was my first time
I watched your first course. In fact, you're the reason I went on to Skillshare before I knew you.
But you can agree, if you look back to it, which I do appreciate, by the way, but if you go back and look at it, right? I was in like my kitchen, I think, or my dining room.
Yeah, you're like on your kitchen table. I think it was like even like looked like you were filming it at night after everyone went to bed.
It was at night. It was like at 11.
Yeah, like,
and
like
so I had to be quiet. All of our neighbors, because we shared walls, it was an apartment. So I had to do it in the middle of the night, and I had a crappy camera, poor lighting. I was kind of still trying to fit. I didn't have much personality in it as I would now if you're comparing. So anyways, I look back at those and I'm like, I can acknowledge now that it wasn't me. It was a lot of luck because they were trying to push forward these courses. They were growing too. So they were marketing my stuff for free. And I was one of the only courses that was in design or illustration. And so it worked out in my favor, but it's not like a blueprint that people can follow. Like you can work hard and start and maybe take risks in that way. That's probably the bigger thing to take away from that is sometimes there's risks that you can take that you need to take. And who knows, like what could happen, it could be calculated, but still I took a risk by putting a ton of effort and time into something that I had no clue was going to yield what it did. And it was like thousands and thousands of dollars right off the bat because of all sorts of things that worked in my favor at that time. That was not my doing.
People maybe not super specific, but would you say, was it like 10x what you were making at your job, or was it 5x, or was it 100x? How much are we talking here?
I made my salary that I had just under my yearly salary that I my current ad job in 2.5 months.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I made a ton off of that class, and then I started making more, and I was making quite a bit because they like the split too was different. That they kept changing that when they started figuring out how much they were paying me. It just went down and down and down and down and down. That's why I've kind of cut ties with Skillshare. But anyways, so they're probably not going to be a sponsor of this show now that I think about it. But anyways, I wasn't thoroughly impressed down the road with them. But initially, I was really grateful that happened. It was great timing, all luck in a lot of ways, and that's how I started Brave the Woods. So yes, that money made a huge difference, and it did feel great. I was able to start my own business. And yeah, so to answer that question, it did solve a lot of
So would you say to like somebody that's thinking about that's really focused on money in their 20s right now, and they're like, I'm really putting off a lot of, I'm delaying gratification in a lot of areas. Maybe I'm sacrificing some relationships or other things. to take care of my money thing right now, because I'm barely getting by. Would you say that would your advice be that yes, that's a good, this is not a loaded question. It's kind of
No,
sounding
no,
like
I'm
I'm making a
listening.
loaded
Yeah.
question here. Would you say yes, like that's so worth it for what you got for it, that you're like, yes, you should definitely seriously consider that as something that might be worth pursuing?
I guess my answer to that would be it's important to understand context. Like for me, I had an added fire under me to be successful because I had a kid really young. My wife and I were super young when we got married. And so, in like 19 and 21. So we were real young. And then we had a kid 3 years later. So I, like the first year into my career, I had a kid. And so there all of a sudden, I was like, oh, I need to provide for him and my growing family, my future family. And so I, I did things differently, and it became more important for that reason. So I don't know. I think people should definitely I wouldn't ever say like forget all the other stuff, like, because there's a lot of things that you can say. People say like I waited until way later to start a family or whatever their preference was because they wanted to focus on their career. And I that's not my place to tell anybody what to do there. For me, I knew my priority was I wanted to start a family. And so when I started, and my career was there, but I wanted to start a family. And then once I made that decision, then the financial part was okay. That's a necessity. And so I did have to make some sacrifices though. Like, yes, like in the early on, I was working weekends really late for that ad agency. And that was getting trickier and trickier as my son was getting older. And I kind of just saw the writing on the wall, and I was like, I don't know if I want this life. Like, I don't know if I want to have like only see him for that 1 hour before he's going to bed. And then, be able to like, and then the rest of the evening, once he goes to bed, it's not me and my wife, it's me working. And so I had to do that for a while. And that's how I had to go through that era early of like grinding, and just like the struggle of just trying to get my foot in the door and scratch the surface of my career. And I think there's a time and place for all of that. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've picked up and learned is like, yeah, there's a time and season for everything. I just didn't want that. I always say like my life and career kind of, what do you call it? I got, what's a good way to what I usually will explain it, just like kind of like it just got into bottleneck. That's what I was thinking. Bottlenecking. So like all of a sudden, all of these things, like I was like working my full-time job, coming home, working my side gig, trying to balance a family. And I got to this pressure point, like where I couldn't do all of them. It was just too much, but I had to do it. I had to get through that. I had to work on my business outside of work and that sacrificed some of that time, but it was just how long is that threshold for pain? And when is the fastest I could get my results? And as soon as that Skillshare class went crazy, that's when I decided it's time to go and start our own thing, spend time with the family. We have a little buffer financially. Let's take that risk now.
Okay, so that's kind of what I was going to ask, because you did pursue this. Like, it wasn't like just like luck in the sense that, because for some people they'll get invited to do something like that and it will bring in some money, and then it will sort of. I've known lots of people over the years where they'll do that and then it sort of peters out and they're back at their job and they're still at their job. They never left their job. You knew, in terms of desires, goals from being young, you knew at that age, like, I am trying to do something other than work for somebody. I am actively trying to pursue money and freedom of my own business or financial freedom. Like, that was not
I
an
figured
accident.
that out in Boston. Yeah, I figured that out in Boston. The full picture kind of rounded out and was clear in Boston when I was like, oh, because I was really trying to become an art director. That was like one of the selling points when they had me come over, and they kind of like wine and dine you a bit before they fly you out there, and they try to, they show you the office, they show you the town, they kind of introduce you to folks. They're trying to get you to work for them. And so they do kind of paint this picture of like, it's like Mad Men, right? Like it's just the coolest place. And,
Yeah.
and
pong
I don't want to
tables,
talk.
beer in the
Yes.
fridge. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's a ping pong table out there. It's real chill. And you know, and I really don't want to talk down about Arnold because I had an amazing experience there. They gave me a great opportunity. I met really friends that I'm still friends with today and I work with today. But just the agency experience, I realized was not necessarily what I wanted at that time. And I just didn't see myself, my goals aligning, like my family goals and my life goals really align, like my career goals maybe, but I didn't. I realized real quickly I couldn't. Those don't match up, and so I was like, okay, that's when Crystal and I were really thinking seriously about what if we did something together. You know, we're both like creative, and like she's also a very creative person in lots of other ways. Why don't we try to create something together? That way we can have the goals, you know, meet that goal of being close to each other, spending time with our family and each other, and then also having some freedoms to travel. We really wanted to travel and do things. And so, and that worked. That did. And our traveling was like road tripping. It's not like traveling the world. Financially, that was what made sense for us, and we loved doing that. So, but yeah, that was
Man,
how it happened.
what if we're talking about now we fast forward. We were in a lot of this trip together too. Well, I suppose I knew you from this before Skillshare, and I knew you not in terms of you knew me. I knew you.
Yeah.
I knew
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
you before
I get that a
Skillshare, and
lot.
then I actually purchased your class on Skillshare, and then um I had a child on the way, and I already was started trying to start a business. It was like my third or fourth attempt at trying to start a business, and then I tried to start Retro Supply, which um, likely succeeded because of a mix of luck and because I felt like I had a clock, in the sense that I had a nine
Yeah.
month clock before that baby was born, and I didn't want that baby to be born into a family that was in debt and that couldn't take care of itself, which is where I was at. And
Yeah.
but then so we had similar things in the sense that we had I've noticed a lot of
Totally.
people that do entrepreneurial things. There's a drive of children. Children are a huge driver. I mean, I mentioned that drinking in the beginning. I stopped drinking. I stopped all my bad habits. Essentially stopped almost overnight. It was miraculous, really. And
Super impressive.
yeah, I mean, it was purely because like I just kept picturing like my daughter, for instance, smelling a beer on my breath. I remember thinking that and thinking, I don't ever want my daughter to grow up and be like, smell beer somewhere and be like, that reminds me of dad.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
stopped. I was like, by the time she's born, I want like to get these certain things done. So now we fast forward. You're it looks like I'm 38 and you're 44, but about to turn 44, but to
Yeah.
let people know, I'm 43, about to turn 44, and you're
38.
37, 38,
38. Yeah.
38. How I'm trying to think what changes, like what things change in a career at this point. I think right away, what I think to myself is, I think to myself, I pursued too aggressively money.
See,
Uh,
and it's funny because I look outside and I'm like, you did it right. You pursued the money in a lot of ways. I didn't, and I did it in a way like right. I kind of fell into money and it solved a lot of problems, but I wasn't actively doing the things like you were trying to financially set yourself up. I just was like rushing at opportunities, and you were like making opportunities. And I feel like, yeah, I feel like that's different. And that was good though. I mean, I felt like you doing it. That's a smart thing to do.
yeah, I mean,
Not
I think
bad.
I solved a bunch of problems that if you were to ask me in like a different universe where I didn't pursue that, I would be telling you how I should have pursued that perhaps. Who knows? It could be like survivorship bias, but
Yeah.
but looking back, and I think this applies to like all sorts of things, as you get to a certain age, you realize so many things are constructs of your own mind. So
Yeah.
the first example of this, and it takes forever to learn these things, unfortunately, the first example of this was when I paid off our credit card. We had like almost $20,000 in credit card debt, if I remember correctly. It's hard to remember exactly, but
Yeah.
I had made enough to pay all that off, like right before our daughter was born, paid that whole card off. And I remember getting the statement in the mail and it being zero. and opening it and looking and it was zero. And I had this weight on my shoulders for so many years of seeing this amount on it and the interest, and now it was zero. And I remember thinking to myself, like, about the ink on the paper and thinking, the only difference is a couple like micrograms of ink that hit onto the paper and put a number down.
Yeah.
My life was no different, except for in my own head, I didn't have the credit card debt. I still ate the same. I still went to the same places. I still had Pancake Saturday with my family. I still read the same things and went to the same websites and did the same things with my time. And I realized so much of this was a construct. It doesn't mean go get into a bunch of debt, but I just realized, like, and I think to this day, I still realize you're like, effectively, like on a month-to-month basis, the difference of so many things in our life, like really ask yourself on a month-to-month basis, does what I want, if I get it, how will it effectively change my life on a month-to-month basis? There's so many things I think we believe we want that don't matter. If I have $1 million in my bank, how much will my life look different after I cover the basic things on a month-to-month basis? It won't look very much different. I still like to eat cereal that costs, well, now it's like $8 a box because of all this crazy stuff happening in the economy.
I buy the dog food bags.
But like they say that about Coke, right? Like the great thing about Coca-Cola is like it doesn't matter if you're the richest person in the world or the poorest. Like a Coke is always a Coke. The rich person doesn't.
I thought you were talking about Coke. Well, and I was like, you would dang, we're talking drugs.
No, I like Coke, right? Like for everybody, Coca-Cola tastes the same. It doesn't get better when you have more money, and so it's worth considering perhaps that if there's certain things you want at any point, like, does it make a difference on a month-to-month basis if you have it or not? So, for instance, if you told me I could have 10 more hours of quality time with my children on a month-to-month basis, it's like so obviously really important. If you were to tell me on a month-to-month basis I could have $10,000 more, I don't know that I would have anything to do with that. I don't know that I would feel any different. Yeah. I can't eat $10,000 more Fruity Pebbles. I can't.
Because you have to change. Like you're saying at the current, like how you're living, how you want to live, like it's like, that's not, and it also doesn't mean don't pursue those things because they are good. Like getting out of debt. That's a super important, great goal. But it's not the end all be all. Like I feel like it's how much emphasis you put on whether or not you're going to be happy on those things. And the more I've lived, the more like you've said, the more I've realized a lot of the goals that I've set for myself. The biggest problem I had is I didn't plan for what I would do when I reached it.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to reach it. And then as soon as I reached it, I thought in my head, I would have all these adoring fans. I would be this famous. I'd have all these awards. I would have, whatever car. Like you kind of have these like you just have all these. He's like, this is what will happen, and I'll be happy. I'll be really, really happy. Or maybe those individual things are what you think will make you happy. Mm-hmm. But once I get there, like for me, it started off as just wanting a really big client. I wanted a big client, and when I was starting off on my own, I was doing little jobs for little companies and it's funny because it's gone all like full circle now where I'm like, where are those little companies that have something that I believe in? They're the ones I want to work with. They're the real people. And it's just a weird, like, because once I got to getting those big
in the beginning and like you thought,
yes,
you know what I mean? Like in so many people, those are the people that you get in the beginning and you think there's something else.
Yep. And then you realize,
yeah,
they're the best ones. I love big clients. I have big clients. I still enjoy the ones that like, but there's certain projects that you take on, but there's just a level of like closeness you can have with the actual, the owners of these businesses or whatnot. Like, I feel like, and then so many of them are so much more invested. Like unless you're not having like people that are 20 rungs down, just they're the ones handling this project and everyone above them has no clue what's going on with this project. It's just like so small. It's not a huge deal to them. But to me, I'm like, oh, it's a big name. But if I look back at all the projects I've taken on, some of my favorite ones are from these like smaller companies or startups or whatever. And Yeah, it's just interesting. It's just your priorities, right? Like I thought that was what I always wanted. And financially, it's very helpful, but it's also not, it's not the end all be all at all. Like it's not what brought me ultimate happiness where I've worked. If you look at my list on our website and Dustin, you've worked with a lot of like very talented artists and you've reached a lot of financial goals. It's just like, then we started this podcast. We started this podcast because we care about other things outside of our careers. Now we're emphasizing, like, it's almost like we're looking for, at least for me, I'm looking to try to, like spend more time doing the things outside of work. Like that is now my priority, my family and my hobbies and my passions. I'm trying to actively find ways to be working less. Whereas before I just always wanted to work because I was always had something to chase. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Always having something to chase. Yeah. That's true. That's the truth. Okay. So to wrap this up, we're coming up on like, the end here. To wrap it up, if we're reflecting on the beginning of a career, maturing in a career, and there's something coming up that death, but there's something coming up before then. We're both in the middle. We still have, 20 years.
Oh, we got like 60 years left. So we're good to go.
Yeah. Who knows what we have, but like, what would you say is the takeaway? Like if you could tell people that are just looking for extra information or are at the beginning of something, what's the one valuable takeaway that you would have paid for when you were younger?
Honestly, that's really the one. Like chasing your own version of happiness. This has been my theme lately. I gave a conference talk at Circle's conference, and that was what I talked about because I had waited so long to be a conference speaker. That was only a couple, like 2 years ago. That was the first time I'd ever spoken at a conference. Never have before. And that was another goal. I thought if I would speak at a conference, that was my goal, right? Like all of a sudden that would be like, I'd get conference talks everywhere and everybody would know my name and all this stuff. And it's so funny because I went there and as soon as I got the opportunity, somebody had asked me, I was like, I don't know, all the stuff that I always talked about. Cause I've spoken all the time. I've spoken at lots of events. I spoke at a lot of universities, but I never at a big conference, like a design conference. And so when I finally got that opportunity at this point in my career, I was like, I don't want to talk about all this stuff anymore. Like all the stuff that I had originally wanted to talk about, thinking like, this is all my accolades. I want to talk about my process that you can follow and be great too, like a self-help seminar. And it turned out just to be me, a little bit of self-deprecation because I realized I'm here, I'm happy, but it looks nothing like what I had planned. It really doesn't look anything. And I don't know why I'm still not like completely satisfied because people from the outside looking in would be like, we do this with everybody. I'm not saying this because of any specific thing. It's just, I do have fans of my work, and that they tend to like idolize certain things about my work or my life. And it's weird to me because I don't feel that. And one of probably the greatest compliment was, and I always don't think that people are coming for me anyways. And then when I was like I was a last second addition at that for the conference, I was just filling in for somebody. And then somebody came up to me before I went to speak. We were just walking around the conference center, and I remember somebody coming up to me and being like, I just got a ticket like last week just because I wanted to see you. And I was like, that's crazy to me. I was so grateful for that one person, but it also made me think like, that's more what I care about. I care that I made a connection with somebody over my career, and that meant more to me than whatever my accolades were to share in a conference talk. And so I realized real quickly, like, you could chase all these things and they're good. I think that there's always a time and place to chase them. But I didn't know at points I was chasing something. I was comparing myself to so many other people. I wanted the awards they had. I wanted the life they had. I wanted the studio they had. I wanted the clients, and they wanted something different. They're happy with something different. My happiness is completely dependent on other things. And so I had to realize that really quickly. and it wasn't as quick as I'd hoped. I wish I would have learned that lesson earlier. Like, chase your own version of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I had a similar thing with conferences. Like that was something on my list that I mean, it wasn't honestly even on my list because like I didn't think I would ever. I thought conferences were such a big deal, and it was just crazy to get to speak at one. And I actually got invited to speak at the Creative South conference. I think I was 2 years in having my business. I got that, and then I got like weapons of mass creation or whatever, and there was another one somewhere else I can't remember. And I thought the cool part would be my name on the website and on the flyers and things like that. And it did feel pretty cool to get that lanyard that said you were a speaker and walk around with that. I'll be honest. But it turned out that the very best part of it was that when you had the lanyard that said speaker, you got to meet more people because it automatically was a quick way for people to know that like, I don't know, you weren't like you were safe to talk to or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, I just found that like it actually accelerated the ability to meet new people and go out to like, I remember going out and having food in the South in Georgia. I had never had food in the South. It was so good. And like getting to go and meeting new friends. That was the cool part. It was not being on the conference thing. It wasn't none of that. It was like, it was actually just like we can't know. I suppose, I suppose if I was to think about what I would pay to have known a long time ago, it'd be to question what's valuable and question the fact that perhaps like something you have is actually quite valuable. And you're unaware of it in the same way that at this age, it's probably easy for some people to be like, oh, you're saying you're financially like, secure and like you're easy for you to say when you are, like, why don't you, if it's not such a big deal, why don't you give me the money? But at the same time, like when you have that, then like you forget, well, 15 years ago, like I had like a little more energy. I got to see my little baby girl as a baby girl. I got to meet these people at this conference. You just always ask yourself, what's next? And is there something good that's next? Or am I actually already at the next where things are good? These are all like, I feel like when you get down to the core of these things, these are always like kind of cliches, but
it's something I think about.
I take from it.
I think it's great advice. I think it's just, I think that's really solid advice. And I think a lot of this stuff ends up just being just happiness comes from, it's not just from these like material things or these titles or whatever. But it's so true. But I will say the last thing I want to kind of project out there is like, it's not bad to chase these things. And we're not saying now that we're here, you shouldn't do it. Like you shouldn't do it. You should just go straight to happy and rich and or whatever your goal is, like just jump, because you can't jump straight to those things. You can't jump to like that title without, working your way up and suffering a little bit and sacrificing. And I think that's great. But I think if you're talking to us right now, we're not the best people to hype you up in that particular point in your life, because I feel like we're now at the point where we're reflecting a little bit on the career and saying like, okay, we've achieved a lot of the things that we wanted to achieve. What's next? And one of those things was connecting with humans more for me and getting to know people, because I'm investing in people. I want to invest in people in my relationships and friendships, just like you were saying, Dustin, at like conferences and things. That's the real value at conferences for me, is the people. So at this point, that's what we value. That's what we're valuing. That's why this podcast exists, because this is something we like to do. We like to meet people. We like to talk to each other, and hopefully we could share little nuggets of wisdom like we have hopefully in the past and in this episode.
Absolutely. Yeah. Little anecdotal evidence, right? Like, get to share some things, talk to some people that are listening that are our friends and stuff, and give some anecdotal evidence of different things. But I don't know how we're going to distribute this. We're early on. We're in early days, so we don't know exactly. But wherever it is that we're distributing this, comment on these or leave a message and say you're wrong or you're right, or what you think about it. I would love to hear that. That's
genuinely curious. Well, onward. This was good. I've been thinking about this a lot. I know you had too, so I'm glad we got to discuss it.
Yes. Well, thanks for joining us. Let us know what else you want us to talk about in future episodes. Did you like this episode? Did you not? And we'll see you next week. If you're getting value from these conversations, consider joining our Patreon community. You'll get bonus content, early access to episodes, and help us keep bringing you the honest stories from creatives who figured it out. Check it out at patreon.com/creative/.